Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now, before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted because you guys rock. To my crazy fam, I love you guys. And to my patrons, thank you for your continued support. Now, we're up to episode number 57. Yeah, I'm getting up there in episodes, ain't I? We left off last week with relationship, and we're gonna go ahead and continue on from there. So we'll switch over to here because this was the cartoon arm. If y'all remember last week, like over here and click that and hit grab this little square there, you notice that the arm stretches. Okay, so that's what we did last week. So if you don't know, if you're just tuning in for the first time, yeah, start back from the beginning. Yeah, I know it's 57 episodes before, but that's how you get started. If you don't know anything about a BG and this is your first time looking at it and you just happen to come across my channel, go ahead and go back to episode number 1. It'll actually, I'm going over this book. It's called the Game Engine book. It's done in the old BGE, Blender Game Engine, but it can be used in the UPBGE 2.79 or the 0.2x versions. The 3.0 and 0.3 versions are a little bit, different, but a lot of the characteristics and things that you do in Blender are, if you're any kind of way with Blender, this is technically the same thing. Okay, so you'll be doing basically roughly the same stuff. It's just that the UI is a little bit different and some other functions are different. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Relationship. The following are the bone constraints that are supported the least. Ironically, apart from the category name, there is not much relationship between them. A bone constraint worth mention is the action bone constraint. With it, you can play complete actions in the armature by moving one single bone around. Given the complexity of this constraint, the example part of this text evolved as a pseudo tutorial. I'll say pseudo tutorial because we are working on top of no file. Although you should be able to follow the instructions and reproduce the effect yourself. Okay? So action. With the action bone constraint, you can play back an entire action by controlling one single bone. Make sure that the target bone is not animated in the action you are playing. Otherwise, this will produce unpredictable results. Since this is a more complicated bone constraint, the best way to show possible usages is by a pseudo mini tutorial as you see next. Okay, and I'm going to switch over here real quick one more time so you can see what they're talking about. This right here is the add constraint. So you would go to add constraint over here in your bone constraints. Okay, and then you would go to action, and so I'm looking over here. Hang on, let me switch over here so you can see what I'm talking about. Nope. There we go. Okay. Bone constraint right here. And I believe it's in here somewhere. Yeah, right there. Action. Okay, it's under relationship. That's what we're working on today. So that's the action. That's what they're showing over. No, we hit the wrong one. There we go. Okay, so this is a little, as you can see, it's a little bit different. It's okay. Basically the same concepts. Everything is the same except for mine's, the dark montage, and this one's the normal montage. Okay, so if you're used to that, then it's okay. Alright, so an example of using this for is for transformer-like animations. Let's say you need to create a character similar to Optimus Prime. The armature has two very distinct base poses: a regular car and a badass robot. Some of your animation cycles will happen in the car shape and others in the robot. Okay? So it says, you first create a separate action with two extremes. the car, and the robot bones. Confirmation. Sorry about that. The action itself contains the transformation between those two shapes. See, now you create a bone disconnected from the main chain to control the influence of this action over the bone's pose. This bone will be used as a target in the action bone constraint. Okay, so let's switch back over here real quick. Okay, what they're talking about is right here. Okay, that will be your target. This right here is your action. Okay, from target, whatever location. Okay, whether it be scale, rotation, location. Okay, and to be world space. We'll get more into that, but right now we're talking about the target. Okay. See where that. Yeah. This bone will be used as a target in the action bone constraints you need to create for all the bones. And by that I mean create one bone constraint, set its property, and copy over to the other bones. Okay. Slider-like controllers. This is indeed a classic usage of a bone controller is a slider. Since only one of the transformations of the bone, location X, will be used to influence the played action, you can even lock the other pose transformations, location Y and Z, rotation X, Y, and Z, and scale X, Y, and Z, and create a limit location bone constraint for this bone. Okay, and okay, that'll work. All right, let me switch back over to here real quick. Okay, there we go. Okay, what it's talking about is this right here, limit location. Okay, and which one would that be? I'm trying to figure out which one that is in there. I don't see a limit location in here. Oh, okay. There it is. Alright, so let me switch back over so you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. Okay, that's this one right here. And you would go up in your constraints. And it's not in relationship. I guess it used to be in relationship, but it's over here. Okay, limit distance, limit location, limit rotation, limit scale. Okay, and they're just showing you that on the location on that. So you can limit it on the X, and you can limit it on the maximum X. Okay, so minimum and maximum. You can also do it on the Z. You can also do it on the Y. As you see this little guy over here, every time I limit it, it's putting it all to 0. Okay, but if I take off the maxes, okay, the minimums really don't matter, but unless you want them to start from 0. Okay, so after all the setup is done, you only need to worry about the target bone when you need to switch between the poses. Move the bone to the left and you have a car. Move it to the right and you have a robot. Animate the bone going from left to right and you can integrate the transformers animations as a part of any other action. Another use for this bone constraint is to play two actions influencing the same bones at the same time. Running, stopping, walking, breathing, stuff like that. This is a workaround for the game engine's limitation of only being able to play one action that influences a bone at a time. In the book files, you can see the example of this in book chapter 4, 3 action constraint blend. So let's go ahead and go there. Hit file, open. Okay, that's this one right here. Okay, so remember, it should be in your game engine book, should be in files under chapter 4. If you don't have it the same as mine, it's okay. Wherever you got the files from, link is in the description. Okay, you go to it, you download it along with the book, and you can go right to it wherever you have it stored. I put mine in game engine book so I can remember where it's at. Okay, and these were the files for it, so I left it in that folder, and you just go to the chapter. And since you go to chapter 4, this is what's all for chapter 4. And we're going to do number 3, okay, 3 action constraint blend. Okay, that's this little guy right here. Alright, so note in the file that each action actuator is set to its own layer, so they can be stacked together for the same object. Okay, so each one has its own layer. Okay, like there, see? Alright, each layer is different. You know, you have different ones, and I guess I have it all set up here somehow. And that there's kind of messed up, but it's okay. So if you hit play on that, I'm pretty sure. Don't have a slider though. Oh, you gotta move these two bones. Okay. You put it like that, and then you hit play. Okay. Doesn't do anything when you hit any of the keys, so. Oh, T. Nope, T didn't work. Well, either which way, we're going to go ahead and keep on. This is actually an old version, so a lot of this was done back in February 2013. So, you know, it's 10 years old. But if you like the old version of Blender, which is one of my favorites to use, you know, we use 0.2x version, which is also the same as saying the 1.79, 1.79, something like that. Okay, 2.79. I'm sorry, 2.79, which is what the based off the original Blender right there. Okay, all right. So, child of, it's only partly supported. The ability to dynamically set parent relations for bones during the game is essential for some animations. Imagine that you are building a samurai game. In the non-fight moments, the sword will be inside a scabbard, and therefore it should be parented to it. During combat, the sword will move from the scabbard to the samurai's hands. From that point on, the sword should be parented to the hands, so that it follows their position and rotation during the slicing heads animation. Let's see, where am I at? Got a couple minutes. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and actually wait on the rest of that. I'm actually gonna do child of next week. I did do this little bit because I wasn't really looking at the time. So let me switch back to there. Okay, we'll leave off with child of, which is page number 27. You can read ahead. I mean, the whole idea of this is to give you ideas and try to help you out with understanding the book a little bit better and understanding how Blender works a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to do the entire book. I'm only in chapter 4 and I'm only at 57 episodes in. So in order to get this whole book done, it's going to be several episodes from now. Before I even get out of this chapter, even get down to the bottom of this page, probably. But the whole idea for me to do this is to help, myself, for one, for two, to help you, and to give a better knowledge of how Blender works and how the game engine works, because everybody wants to be a game dev. I don't know, I am a, what do they call it, a hobbyist, okay? I don't call myself a game dev, nowhere near it. People who are hobbyists like to do it and then enjoy doing it. So with that, leave off on page 27, child of, and we'll see you next week.